So let's, obviously the big issue that's been facing all of us, and we're watching very intently about what will happen, is the economy and the so-called bailout plan. What are your views about what should be done and the bailout plan?
Well, I think there's certain priorities. I think the main thing is to guarantee the savings of the working people of America, especially those retirement savings that are in 401k plans and IRAs, and especially those that are, let's say, in money market funds. I think that was a big shock when I think one of the Putnam funds and the net asset value was going to decline there. I think that should be a priority. And also to help those folks who were victims of mortgage fraud. I think that is very important. As far as shoring up some of the institutions and some of the executives, I don't think that's a priority. In fact, I think there should be an investigation of this whole subprime mortgage debacle. I know that AmeriQuest, for example, was being investigated by 48 of the 50 attorneys general for their mortgage fraud, and I think those representatives who failed to have the vision to see what was happening a year or two ago should be held accountable for not trying to institute some type of regulatory reform earlier.
I believe the FBI has also started investigations of several of the companies like AIG, Lehman Brothers, Merrill Lynch, I believe, as well. Some of the companies that have had these difficulties. I don't know if you've seen that in the news. Yes,
there should be restitution paid. Maybe some of those funds that have been squirreled away by various executives could also be put to use to help fund.
It seems to me one of the controversial aspects of this bailout, it wasn't in the original Treasury plan, but I think politicians on both sides of the aisle have come out in favor of some sort of restrictions on executive compensation. No golden parachutes for these executives. What do you think about that?
Oh, I definitely agree with that. I was very much dismayed when, let's say, the executives from Countrywide left with multi-million-dollar golden parachutes, and they can't be rewarded for things like this. And I guess, unfortunately, it goes back, I guess, to 1999 in some ways, when the Glass-Steagall Act of 1933 was replaced by a new law which encouraged this merging of banks and securities investment companies.
And that's the Graham-Bliley-Leach.
Yes, it is.
Which allowed the banks to expand their activities.
Right. I think it's very, very dangerous. Oftentimes, if you're in a bank, you want to renew a CD, someone will say, well, why don't you sit down with this other individual over here, and they have a very small sign, not FDIC insured. So there are many aspects of that merger that I think were dangerous. And unfortunately, the incumbent who I'm opposing, Nita Lowey, did vote for that Graham-Bliley-Leach bill, which I think, especially in retrospect, did contribute to the situation.
What do you think? And that bill kind of deregulated bank activities.
Right.
Where do you stand generally on regulating the financial institutions, the securities industry? It's interesting, the Bush administration has kind of been in favor of deregulation. Now at this crisis, I think people are realizing, including administration officials, that maybe we do need some level of regulation to prevent these Wall Street types from taking extraordinary risks that jeopardize our economy. What's your views? What do you think the proper level of regulation is, and what would you advocate as far as the level of regulation for these financial institutions?
Well, I think we should go to the level that existed before the Graham-Bliley-Leach Act was instituted, to keep these institutions at arm's length and not merge all these financial options together and allow various very risky instruments to be developed, like bundling of these subprime mortgages. There needs to be constant oversight, and I think Congress is where the oversight should come from, not from the Secretary of the Treasury, who is currently, I guess, was a previous chief executive officer for one of the Wall Street firms that's been involved in these actions. As far as our economy is concerned, we have to look to try and cut costs and to reduce our budgets. We need responsibility from the Appropriations Committee that Neil Lowy is on. Right now, we're almost at the end of September, and the congressional fiscal year ends at the end of September, but yet there are hardly any appropriations bills have been completed, and especially in an election year, it's many of the elected officials don't want to commit to these expenditures. I think that's not a good thing. The people need to know what the plans are, and before the fiscal year comes to an end. I'm also very concerned about the earmarks. One of the reasons it's speculated that these bills are not coming out is because a lot of earmarks are inserted at the last minute, and those earmarks can amount to billions of dollars. In the 2008 Omnibus Appropriations Bill that Neil Lowy sponsored, there have been about $13 billion of earmarks, some for the study of fruit flies and termites and for Charles Rangel Center, and millions that Neil Lowy got for fixing up David's Island. Now, all those things could have some beneficial effect, but the problem with earmarks is that that's at the discretion of the individual congressman or congresswoman to determine what's done with that money, and what makes one police department or school a better beneficiary than another. And these earmarks also can be utilized as a political benefit when a representative visits a neighborhood and says, well, this is what I procured for you, this is what I brought back. And sometimes it's not made clear that these are taxpayers' dollars coming back. So I would rather abolish the earmarks and take that 13 to 20 billion overall for 2008 and restore that. And if we divide that by the 100 million or so taxpayers, we'd have an average of maybe about $200 for each taxpayer, who should decide what is best for his or her neighborhood and utilize those funds that way.
Anything else you want to add about the economy before we move? We'll move on to something else. But if there's anything
I have signed, I guess, a pledge that the Citizens Against Government Waste has a pledge where a person will not approve of those type of earmarks if elected, and I've signed that, and I would hope that my opponents and other congresspersons would also get on board with that type of pledge.